WWE is all about pushing the limits, but sometimes those limits break body parts. From shocking falls to bone-crushing impacts, these injuries left the audience stunned, and the wrestlers were barely able to walk out of the ring. Today, we're diving into the moments that made even the toughest men and women question if they'd ever step into the ring again. These are the scariest injuries in WWE history. On August 3, 1997, during SummerSlam, Stone Cold Steve Austin suffered one of the most serious injuries in professional wrestling history while facing Owen Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. In a pivotal moment, Owen Hart performed a sit-down pile driver, a variation of the move where Austin's head was positioned lower than intended. Instead of safely hitting the mat with his upper shoulders, Austin landed directly on his head, causing an immediate and severe neck injury. The impact was catastrophic, temporarily paralyzing Austin. As he later recalled, he couldn't feel anything from his neck down and feared the worst, comparing the experience to Christopher Reeve's paralysis. After a short but intense pause in the match, Austin managed to regain limited movement and, determined not to leave on a stretcher, improvised a roll-up pin to win the match. The pinfall was weak due to his physical condition, but it allowed him to walk away as champion. Post-match, Austin was visibly stunned, holding the championship, but the severity of the injury became apparent as he struggled to stand. In the aftermath, Austin suffered a broken neck and significant nerve damage. He was forced to vacate the Intercontinental title a month later and spent the next 3 months recovering. Despite being sidelined, Austin's momentum didn't decline. He returned to action by the end of 1997 and won the Royal Rumble in early 1998. However, the injury had long-term consequences. Austin had to modify his in-ring style, shifting from a more technical approach to a brawling, strike-heavy style to protect his neck. This change became central to the Stone Cold persona that propelled him to the peak of his career. While Austin held no lasting animosity toward Owen Hart, their relationship cooled after the incident. Owen reportedly called Austin only once after the injury, a fact that Austin later expressed disappointment about. This injury not only shortened Austin's in-ring career, but also played a pivotal role in shaping the course of WWE history. Ultimately, the injury is seen as both a tragedy and a turning point, as Austin's career skyrocketed afterward, but it also marked the beginning of his physical decline, eventually leading to his early retirement in 2003. 2 years after Austin's injury, on October 5, 1999, Darren Drozdov suffered a life-altering injury during a SmackDown taping at Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. In a match against D'Lo Brown, the incident occurred when Brown attempted his signature running powerbomb. For multiple reasons, including Droz wearing a loose-fitting shirt and an inability to assist with the jump, Brown couldn't secure a proper grip, which resulted in Droz landing on his head. The impact caused Droz to fracture 2 vertebrae in his neck, leaving him a quadriplegic, initially paralyzed from the neck down. The match footage was never aired, and although Droz underwent hours of surgery to reduce the pressure on his spine, he remained paralyzed. He did, however, regain some movement in his upper body and arms over time. Despite the gravity of the injury, Droz has consistently expressed that he held no animosity toward D'Lo Brown, recognizing it as a tragic accident that could have happened to anyone in the ring. Post-injury, Droz remained involved with WWE, contributing as a writer and columnist. He appeared on WWE's online show, Bite This, and wrote predictions for various premium live events. His positive attitude in the face of such adversity inspired many in the wrestling community. Tragically, Droz passed away in June 2023, but his legacy of resilience continues to be remembered by fans and peers. This next moment, however, was recorded. Joey Mercury's injury at WWE's Armageddon in 2006 is one of the most gruesome moments in the history of wrestling. It happened during a 4-way tag team ladder match involving MNM, Mercury and Johnny Nitro, the Hardys, Paul London and Brian Kendrick, and Dave Taylor and William Regal. The injury occurred when a ladder was seesawed into Mercury's face after Jeff Hardy jumped onto it, causing the ladder to rebound violently. The spot was inherently dangerous. Mercury was supposed to protect himself by raising his hands to block the ladder, but in the split second before impact, he didn't get his hands up in time. The ladder smashed directly into his face, fracturing his nose and orbital bone. Blood immediately poured from his injuries, leaving him dazed and unable to continue. Mercury had to be rushed to the hospital, where he received 30 stitches to close the deep cuts on his face. The visual of Mercury stumbling at ringside, face covered in blood, remains one of WWE's most shocking injury moments. Remarkably, despite the horrific nature of the injury, Mercury never lost consciousness and vividly recalled every detail of the incident. He later described the impact as akin to being hit in the face by a 100-pound steel ladder moving at 100 miles per hour, or like going headfirst through a car windshield without a seatbelt. He stayed conscious through the ordeal, but was forced to leave the match due to major blood loss. Physically, Mercury recovered relatively quickly, returning to action a few weeks later. However, the mental toll was far greater. Struggling with addiction before the injury, the pain from the accident exacerbated his reliance on painkillers, further derailing his career. This ultimately led to his release from WWE in March 2007. Despite his physical recovery, Mercury admitted that his mental state deteriorated, and the injury became a catalyst for his battles with addiction. Today, Mercury is widely respected in the wrestling world for his behind-the-scenes work as a producer and trainer, having played a significant role in Ring of Honor. His journey from that devastating injury to his eventual resurgence behind the curtain is a testament to his resilience and dedication to the industry. Speaking about wrestlers who transitioned to backstage roles, Triple H faced 2 devastating quadriceps injuries in his career, which strongly impacted his time in the WWE. On May 21, 2001, during a tag team match on Raw, Triple H suffered his first major quadriceps tear. Teaming up with Stone Cold Steve Austin against Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit, Triple H went to break up Jericho's submission hold, the Walls of Jericho, on Austin. When he planted his left leg awkwardly, his quadriceps muscle torn completely off the bone. Remarkably, despite the severity of the injury, Triple H finished the match, even allowing himself to be put on Jericho's submission hold. The injury requires immediate surgery performed by renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews. Recovery was expected to take around 9 months, and Triple H underwent intense physical therapy. His eventual return came on January 7, 2002, to one of the most memorable crowd reactions in WWE history at Madison Square Garden. This moment marked his full-time return after nearly 8 months away, following extensive rehab and commitment to recovery. Unfortunately, 5 years to the day of his return from the first injury, Triple H suffered a second quadriceps tear, this time to his right leg, during the New Year's Revolution Premium Live event on January 7, 2007. While teaming with Shawn Michaels as D-Generation X against Rated RKO, Edge and Randy Orton, Triple H felt his right quad give out during a routine maneuver. The match came to a halt as Triple H struggled to stand and continue, and referee Marty Elias signaled the dreaded X to indicate a legitimate injury. Following the event, Triple H was diagnosed with a tear in one of the 4 tendons of his right quadriceps and required another surgery. Again, Dr. James Andrews performed the procedure, and this time, the estimated recovery time was 4 to 6 months. Triple H faced yet another grueling period of rehabilitation. Despite the recurrence of such a major injury, he returned to action later in 2007, continuing his storied career. Both of these injuries were major setbacks, but Triple H's ability to return stronger each time highlighted his resilience and commitment to the sport. As gruesome as Triple H's injuries were, they weren't life-threatening. However, this next injury was. On March 11, 2022, Big E suffered a life-threatening injury during a match on SmackDown. He and his New Day partner, Kofi Kingston, were facing Ridge Holland and Sheamus in a standard tag team match when the accident occurred. During the match, Ridge Holland attempted an overhead belly-to-belly suplex on Big E outside the ring. Unfortunately, Holland didn't rotate Big E fully, causing him to land directly on the top of his head. This resulted in a fractured C1 and C6 vertebrae in Big E's neck. Medical personnel immediately rushed to Big E's side, and he was stretchered out of the arena. Despite the severity of the injury, Big E remained positive and shared updates via social media from the hospital. He was fortunate to avoid more catastrophic damage such as paralysis or spinal cord injury, and doctors confirmed that he did not need surgery. The lack of spinal cord damage meant that, although the injury was serious, he was spared from long-term neurological issues. Big E later revealed just how close he came to an even worse fate, stating that he narrowly avoided a stroke, paralysis, or even death due to the position and severity of the fracture. Despite the physical and emotional toll, he expressed immense gratitude for the support from fans, colleagues, and friends during his recovery. In the months following the injury, Big E has provided regular updates on his condition. While he feels great physically, his C1 vertebrae have not fully healed. It is healing with fibrous tissue instead of new bone, which has delayed his potential in-ring return. Though he continues to participate in WWE shows and recruitment efforts, the long-term future of his wrestling career remains uncertain. Big E's positivity and resilience have become defining aspects of his recovery journey. He continues to take life one day at a time, grateful for his health and hopeful for the future. After all, it wouldn't be the first time a wrestler thought his career was over, just for it to restart a few years later, stronger than ever. Take Shawn Michaels, for example. Shawn Michaels' back injury, which nearly ended his career, occurred during the 1998 Royal Rumble in a casket match against The Undertaker. During the match, Michaels took a back body drop over the top rope, landing awkwardly on the casket. This caused major damage to his lower back, resulting in 2 herniated discs and 1 completely crushed disc. The injury immediately affected the showstopper physical capabilities. Still, he powered through the next few months, leading to WrestleMania 14, where he dropped the WWE title to Stone Cold Steve Austin in what was considered his last match at the time. The severity of the injury was evident as Michaels struggled with intense pain, leading to his retirement in 1998. At the time, many believed his wrestling career was over. Doctors were unsure whether he would ever return to the ring, as the injury required extensive rehabilitation and back surgery. The 4-year absence that followed was not only a physical recovery period, but also a time when Michaels addressed his personal issues, including substance abuse and lifestyle changes. In a surprising turn, Michaels made his return to WWE at SummerSlam 2002 in a street fight against Triple H, defying expectations and proving that his body could still handle the rigors of pro wrestling. His comeback marked the beginning of a second chapter in his career, during which he went on to perform at a high level for nearly another decade before retiring in 2010. This injury, initially thought to be career-ending, ultimately set the stage for one of the greatest comebacks in WWE history. Michaels' resilience and dedication not only solidified his legacy as one of the all-time greats, but also inspired a new generation of wrestlers. Someone who has definitely taken inspiration from Shawn Michaels is none other than Seth Rollins. In November 2015, Rollins suffered a devastating knee injury during a WWE live event in Dublin, Ireland. While facing Kane, Rollins attempted a sunset flip powerbomb, a move he had performed numerous times before. However, this time the landing went wrong, and Rollins' knee buckled. The damage was extensive. He tore his ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus in his right knee. This was considered a catastrophic injury in pro wrestling, especially given that Rollins was the reigning WWE World Heavyweight Champion at the time. The injury forced Rollins to vacate the WWE title and undergo immediate surgery, performed by Dr. Jeffrey Dugas in Birmingham, Alabama. The prognosis was grim, with a recovery time of 6 to 9 months. This meant he would miss WrestleMania 32, where he had been expected to play a major role. Rollins worked diligently through a grueling rehabilitation process. His road to recovery was both physical and mental, as the injury not only sidelined him from the ring, but also introduced uncertainty about his career trajectory. Rollins shared how difficult it was to accept such a long period away from wrestling, a sport that had defined his life for years. After months of rehab, Rollins triumphantly returned to Extreme Rules in May 2016, attacking Roman Reigns at the end of the event to signal his comeback. His return was highly anticipated and marked an important moment for WWE, re-establishing Rollins as a top player in the company. However, he had to adjust his in-ring style to avoid high-risk moves that could further jeopardize his knee. Ironically enough, the next wrestler also had to vacate the WWE title due to an injury, but the injury took place during a match against Seth Rollins. Finn Balor's injury at SummerSlam 2016 was a major turning point in his career and the WWE landscape at the time. On August 21, 2016, during his match against Seth Rollins for the inaugural Universal Championship, Balor sustained a severe shoulder injury. The injury occurred, showing tremendous resilience and determination to finish the bout. Despite this, the damage was done. After the match, it was revealed that Balor had suffered a torn labrum, along with additional damage to his bicep, pectoral tendon, and cartilage. His doctors described it as a high-energy injury, far more severe than a typical shoulder dislocation. The extent of the injury necessitated immediate surgery, which took place just days later. Unfortunately, Balor had to relinquish his newly won Universal Championship the night after SummerSlam on Monday Night Raw. The injury sidelined him for approximately 6 to 9 months. During his recovery, he underwent a second procedure involving stem cell treatment to aid the healing process. Balor's injury was not only physically taxing, but also a major setback in his career. He had only recently been called up to WWE's main roster and was positioned for a massive push as the face of Raw. However, Balor maintained a positive attitude throughout, believing that the setback happened for a reason and that it was part of his journey. The injury did, however, lead to a period of reflection and intense rehabilitation, with Balor eventually making a triumphant return to the ring in 2017. Despite the frustration of having his momentum halted, Balor's resilience and outlook on his recovery became a central narrative of his career. Speaking of resilience, John Cena's torn pectoral muscle injury in October 2007 was a huge event in his career and the WWE landscape at the time. The injury occurred during a match on Monday Night Raw against Mr. Kennedy. While attempting a hip toss, Cena completely tore his right pectoral muscle. Despite the severity of the injury, Cena continued and even finished the match, participating in a scripted post-match attack by Randy Orton. The diagnosis after the match confirmed the worst. Cena had suffered a full tear of the pectoralis major muscle, requiring immediate surgery. The injury was so severe that the muscle had detached from the bone, making it a complex situation that required a long rehabilitation process. Cena underwent surgery the following day under Dr. James Andrews in Birmingham, Alabama. WWE officials initially expected Cena to be out of action for 6 months to a year. He was forced to vacate his WWE Championship, which he had held for over a year at that point. This led to a significant change in WWE programming, as Randy Orton went on to capture the title at the No Mercy Premium live event shortly afterward. However, in true Cena fashion, his recovery defied expectations. Just over 3 months later, Cena made a surprise return at the 2008 Royal Rumble, shocking the WWE Universe by entering the match as the final participant and winning the event. His rapid recovery became part of his larger-than-life persona, showcasing his incredible work ethic and resilience. A few months later, another main event player was injured. Randy Orton's collarbone injury occurred during the One Night Stand Premium Live event on June 1, 2008. He was facing Triple H in a last man standing match for the WWE Championship. During the match, Orton attempted an RKO on Triple H, but it was countered, causing Orton to be thrown over the top rope. He landed awkwardly on the outside, breaking his left clavicle, collarbone. This injury forced him to leave the match and undergo immediate medical attention. The severity of the injury became clear as WWE medical staff transported Orton to a nearby hospital in San Diego for further evaluation. It was confirmed that his left collarbone was broken, with significant swelling and bruising. WWE initially estimated a recovery period of 2 to 3 months. However, the situation worsened when Orton suffered a refracture of the same collarbone later that year in August due to a motorcycle accident. This accident prolonged his recovery and pushed back his return to the ring. Orton's injury came at a critical time in his career. As one of WWE's top heels, His absence impacted major storylines. This period of recovery forced him to miss key events, including SummerSlam 2008. However, despite these setbacks, Orton made a strong return to WWE by the end of the year, continuing his legacy as one of the top stars in the company. Speaking of top stars and injuries, sometimes an injury can actually turn a wrestler into a top star. Becky Lynch's injury on November 12, 2018, during the build-up to Survivor Series, was a turning point in her career. On this episode of Raw, Becky led a surprise invasion by the SmackDown's women's division. During the chaotic brawl between both brands, Becky Lynch was accidentally struck by Nia Jax with a stiff punch, resulting in a broken nose and a severe concussion. The moment became instantly iconic as Lynch, blood streaming from her face, continued to fight and then defiantly stood tall in the crowd, cementing her as the man. At the time, the moment was even compared to Austin's 3:16 promo, or his double turn against Bret Hart at WrestleMania, where he had blood all over his face. Initially, WWE described Becky's injury as a broken face, but it was later clarified that she had suffered a broken nose, which could have been managed, but her concussion was the more serious concern. As a result, she was medically disqualified from competing at Survivor Series, where she was scheduled to face Ronda Rousey in a highly anticipated match. This match was pivotal, as it was supposed to further elevate Becky Lynch as a top star in WWE. Despite the setback, the visual of Becky Lynch bloodied but standing strong became a defining moment in her career. The injury, rather than derailing her momentum, amplified her popularity with fans, who viewed her toughness as a testament to her character. Lynch handpicked Charlotte Flair as her replacement for the Survivor Series match, further driving the storyline between the two. Most of the time, however, injuries don't have any positive outcomes. Tyson Kidd's career-ending injury occurred on June 1st, 2015, during a dark match with Samoa Joe before a Monday Night Raw episode. Tyson Kidd, a promising talent who had recently gained momentum with his tag team partner Cesaro, faced Samoa Joe, who had just been promoted to the main roster from NXT. In the match, Joe delivered his signature Muscle Buster move, a relatively safe move that he had performed many times without issue. However, this time, something went terribly wrong. When Kidd landed after the move, he immediately felt something was off. He described seeing a bright light and his entire body going limp. Kidd was briefly paralyzed from the neck down, unable to move for several seconds. As Joe pinned him for the win, Kidd slowly began to regain feeling in his fingers and toes, but he was in excruciating pain. Kidd was rushed to the hospital, where it was discovered that he had suffered a severe spinal injury. His C2 vertebra was ruptured, which had caused temporary paralysis. This type of injury is incredibly rare and often results in either paralysis or death. In fact, only about 5% of people survive it. Kidd underwent emergency surgery, which required 16 staples, 4 screws, and a metal rod to stabilize his neck. Following the surgery, it became clear that Kidd would never wrestle again due to the high risk involved. Although his in-ring career ended abruptly, he transitioned into a new role as a backstage producer for WWE. Despite the tragedy of the injury, Kidd remains grateful for his recovery and for finding a way to continue contributing to the wrestling industry behind the scenes. Don't think the only major injuries that have occurred inside a WWE ring featured male wrestlers only. Beth Phoenix's broken jaw in 2006 marked a pivotal moment early in her WWE career. After being promoted to the main roster, she made her singles debut on Raw on June 5, 2006, in a match against Victoria. During the match, Beth Phoenix was on the receiving end of a slap from Victoria. While it seemed like a routine spot, Beth's mouth was slightly open, and the impact shattered her jaw. Initially, she thought she had just lost a tooth, but it became clear something far more serious had occurred when those around her recoiled at the sight of her injury. Beth was immediately taken to the hospital, where X-rays revealed the extent of the damage. Her jaw was not only shattered, but also dislocated and displaced, requiring reconstructive surgery. Surgeons placed steel plates and screws to repair her mandible. For Beth, the emotional toll was as devastating as the physical injury. She feared her career might be over just as it was beginning, after sacrificing so much to reach the main roster. Despite these challenges, Beth's recovery was remarkable. After months of rehabilitation, she was sent to WWE's developmental territory, OVW, to rebuild her career. She eventually returned to the main roster in 2007, where she went on to become a 3-time women's champion and a one-time Divas champion, solidifying her legacy as one of the top female performers of her generation. This setback early in her career shaped her resilience and determination, and the Glamazon has since been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, recognized for her contributions to the evolution of women's wrestling. Another female wrestler who has dealt with her fair share of injuries is Tegan Nox. Tegan's wrestling career has been severely affected by a series of devastating knee injuries, which began before she even made an impact on WWE programming. In 2017, Nox was poised to participate in the inaugural Mae Young Classic, but just days before the tournament, she suffered her first major injury, a torn ACL in her right knee. This forced her to miss the entire tournament and undergo surgery. She spent nearly a year recovering and returned to action in April 2018, determined to make her mark. Unfortunately, during the 2018 Mae Young Classic, disaster struck again. While facing Rhea Ripley in the quarterfinals, Tegan Nox attempted a suicide dive to the outside of the ring, during which her left knee buckled underneath her. She tried to continue the match, but the pain was overwhelming, leading to a referee stoppage. The extent of her injury was catastrophic. She tore her ACL, MCL, and LCL, both menisci, dislocated her kneecap, and suffered a fracture in her left tibia. Nox later described the injury as her knee having exploded. Following this, Tegan began another grueling recovery process, but she remained resilient. In 2020, she suffered yet another ACL tear during a training session while rehabbing. This marked her third ACL tear in just 4 years, further sidelining her career. Despite these setbacks, Tegan has remained optimistic and committed to returning to the ring. Each time she faced a devastating injury, she worked hard to recover, exemplifying her resilience and passion for wrestling. She continues to inspire fans with her journey and determination. Which of these injuries WWE superstars suffered did you find the scariest? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Ring Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.